The caucus meeting of November 8th, 2023 will now come to order at 7:46 p.m. Present are the council president, council members Glassburn, Heeman, Limpert, Madden, and Scarl. Mayor, the directors of law, finance, HR, safety, service, recreation, special assistant to the mayor, and guests. If there are no additions or corrections, the caucus meeting minutes of October 17th, 2023 are approved as written. Suspension of the rules. There are two items on the agenda this evening being requested for suspension. The first is Resolution 2023-124, which is on second reading. Mayor Jones, would you like to speak to this one?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a request for the city to accept grant funding from the U.S. Department of Justice entitled Rural and Small Department Violent Crime Reduction Program in order to expand the pool of police officers trained on the CIT, or the Advanced Crisis Intervention Team. And we're asking for suspension so that this grant can be accepted and we can get this program started with our safety forces.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Are there any objections from council to suspension? Seeing none, hearing none, all right. Also being requested for suspension this evening is Resolution 2023-130, which is on first reading. Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a requesting for suspension with a contract for PDQ.com Corporation to provide computer software described as Smart Deploy. And this is to authorize for 2 and a 1-year renewal options for us to use here in the city. And the request for suspension is so that we can, again, get started with this program. And the cost of it is $6,372.
Thank you, Mayor. Any objections from council to suspension? All right. Moving into assigning legislation, Resolution 2023-128 will be assigned to Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings. Ordinances 2023-126, 2023-129, Resolution 2023-130, and ordinances 2023-131 and 132 are all assigned to Finance. And then lastly, ordinance 2023-127 will be assigned to Environmental Control, which moves us into scheduling committee meetings for next Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. Councilman Madden, would you like to schedule a Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee meeting?
Yes, Mr. President. If no one has any opposition, if we could schedule the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee to start at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
Anyone have a conflict?
Any opposition to any members of council and committee members? Okay. Thank.
For about 5 minutes, please.
6:30 to 6:35. Okay. Councilman Lippert, would you like to schedule Building, Zoning, and Development Committee meeting?
I would. I'd like to schedule it to discuss 2023-95. And you said what time was it completed, Mr. Madden?
Till 6:35.
Then I'll go from 6:35 to 6:50.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, would you like to schedule Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings?
Thank you, yes. I have a question. Can I schedule at 6:45, just in case
I'll go to 6:45.
you
that's
finish
fine.
earlier? I mean, if you run over, that's okay, but
That's-
then we don't have a gap.
That's fine.
if
I'll go to
there's-
6:45.
Sure,
That's
thank
fine.
you, thank you so much, Councilman.
Look at that
Yeah,
collaboration.
6:45, thank you, and I would like to have, in addition to the Recreation Public Engagement Director, I'd also like to have our IT person, Mr. Eric, no, I think.
Just
thank-
Eric.
Eric.
Just
our
Eric
guru
covers
Eric,
it.
To be present.
And how long will you need for this meeting?
I'm gonna go to 6:50. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Councilman Glassburn for finance.
I guess we will be at 6:50 for the various items listed earlier.
How long do you need? We have one after you.
Oh, we do?
Unless you want to flip-flop, why don't we do that? Yeah, let's go.
Sure.
Councilman Scarl for environmental control.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll schedule environmental control for 2023-127 at 6:50, and I'll need 5 minutes for that, I believe, to 6:55. And ask the mayor and any designee that she wants to be there for the
Great,
committee.
thank you.
Thank you.
And so, back to you, Councilman Glassburn for finance.
So I guess finance then will be at 6:55.
And I'm not sure you're aware, but we have a special council meeting that will immediately follow, so if you can just guesstimate when you might be finished.
I guess 15 minutes.
Okay. So we'll call it 7:10.
Yeah.
All right. Which leads me to scheduling a special council meeting for Tuesday, November 14th, 2023, beginning at 7:10 PM, to allow ordinance 2023-126 to have its second reading. Does anyone on council have anything they wish to bring up this evening? Anything from the administration?
No, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Seeing nothing else, the caucus meeting of November 8th, 2023 is adjourned at 7:54 PM. The council meeting of November 8th, 2023 will now please come to order at 8:00 p.m. The audience is invited to join council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Broussard,
Present.
Ms. Gilchrist, Mr. Glassberg,
Here.
Ms. Heeman,
Here.
Mr. Lippert,
Present.
Mr. Madden,
Here.
Mr. Scarl,
Present.
Ms. Williamson.
Before we begin the meeting this evening, I want to congratulate everybody who participated in yesterday's election. And I want to congratulate council members Limpert and Madden, but I also want to congratulate all that participated. Trust me when I say it takes a lot to put yourself out there, and takes a lot of courage to do so. And I want to thank everyone involved. Approval of minutes. If there are no additions or corrections, the public hearing minutes and council meeting minutes of October 17th, 2023, as well as the special council meeting minutes of October 24th, 2023, are approved as written. And the following legislation is being considered for suspension of the rules this evening. On second reading, Resolution 2023-124, and on first reading, Resolution 2023-130. Moving into reports, Mayor Daley Jones, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Mr. President. Thank you. Good evening. I want to also thank everyone who ran for North Olmsted City Council seats in yesterday's elections. Congratulations to Councilman Limpert and Councilman Madden and Paul Shimsky on their victories. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Williamson for her service and to Matt Mari for running a good race. As council is aware, we had a regrettable incident on Alden Drive this past Saturday, which included both a homicide and a house fire. An investigation into Saturday's events is ongoing at this time, and our city will continue to assist both the State Fire Marshal's Office and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, which are leading the investigations. Once again, on behalf of the residents of North Olmsted, I want to thank all of our first responders for their bravery and heroism in responding to the events on Alden Drive. Our community is deeply saddened by what transpired, but I'm grateful that the officer involved in the shooting suffered non-life-threatening injuries and is at home recuperating with his family. I also want to thank all of our surrounding communities, Westlake, Bay Village, Fairview Park, North Ridgeville, and Olmsted Township, along with all of the state agencies who responded. The Department of the Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Appropriations Act contained funding for 8 community projects. 7 of those projects still await consideration by the U.S. House of Representatives, and among them is the City of North Olmsted's $1.25 million Clay Road Sanitary Force Main Piping Project. Once it's approved by the Senate, 90% of the total project will be paid for with federal funds here in North Olmsted, which is great news for our city. Thank you, and that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Law Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mr. President. I do. We just approved the minutes a moment ago, and in the last meeting, I had said that the plan of the Vapes case that was in the Court of Common Pleas, I had said that I believe that a motion for summary judgment would be in order because they failed to exhaust their administrative remedies, which is a requirement. So here's the update to that. So in Silverstein Firm versus City of North Olmsted, they had gone ahead and filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and a motion for preliminary injunction, in essence to short circuit the process to force us to give them the permit that they were denied. So that's an emergency hearing. It gets immediate acceleration on the docket. That was filed last week, and on the 31st it was filed, and we had a hearing on the 31st, excuse me. So we immediately went to hearing, Mr. O'Malley and I did, we went to the Court of Common Pleas with Judge Sonnenberg, and we got an opinion at the end of the week. The motion for temporary restraining order was denied that they sought, the motion for preliminary injunction was denied, and a motion to dismiss was granted, and the case was removed because they failed to exhaust their administrative remedies, which is what we would have filed in our motion for summary judgment if we had to do that. We didn't have to do that. This case is concluded. For those who don't know, this was the smoke shop that attempted to locate in the Stearns Road Plaza in violation of the city ordinances in terms of locational restrictions. They were denied their permit. Having been denied their permit, and they elected to proceed to Common Pleas Court. They should have had the hearing here, the BZBA, and they should have appealed that. They didn't do that, and by short-circuiting the system and trying to get relief without doing what you're required to do, the case is over. So the city's BZBA decision stands, and pending appeal to the 8th District Court of Appeals, which I don't see, this case is completed. So I was happy to represent the city and get a good result. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Director of Finance Copper, do you have a report?
Yes, I do, Mr. President. I just want to echo the President of Council's remarks, thanking everyone who participated. It is very hard to put yourself out there, and it's a time commitment. It's not easy, and I just want to thank all of those who ran, and congratulate those who won, and congratulate those who ran and were unsuccessful this time, but hopefully in another time they will run again and be successful. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving into council committee reports, I will provide a report from the last Committee of the Whole meeting. The Committee of the Whole met on Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, beginning at 6:32 p.m. Present were all of council, the directors of HR, Economic Development, and Service, as well as the Special Assistant to the Mayor. Council heard a presentation on the Aerozone Alliance, which was given by Rishu Mahalaha and Mary Jo Schmidt, explaining their work directed towards expanding the Aerozone key industries. And after a brief Q&A period, the committee concluded at 7:15 p.m. Councilman Madden, Vice Chair of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. The Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee met on Tuesday, October 24th at 7:16 p.m. to discuss Resolution 2023-112, 2023-123, and 2023-124. In attendance were committee members Williamson, Madden, and Glassberg, Council President Broussard, Council members Gilchrist, Heeman, Limpert, and Scarl, the Law Director, Economic Development Director, and Service Director, as well as the Special Assistant to the Mayor. First on the agenda was 2023-112, which is a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to make application on behalf of the City of North Olmsted to the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, to participate in the Safe Routes to School grant program, and further authorizing the mayor to accept the grant if awarded and execute agreements therefore, and declaring an emergency. Director Upton indicated to us that there's currently a school travel plan that is rather outdated that's on the books. So we're looking to update that school travel plan to precede the opening of the new elementary school in 2025. The process will take approximately 18 months to complete, and the award should be made sometime in late 2025. This application is due at the end of November. Councilman Madden made a motion to favorably recommend 2023-112. It was Councilman Williamson made the motion, and Councilman Madden seconded it. It was favorably voted 3-0 to recommend it to council. Next on the agenda was 2023-123, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to contract for the purchase of 25 portable radios from Motorola Solutions at a cost of $116,649 as priced through the state purchase program and required by the state of Ohio's Marks Radio Network for deployment by the North Olmsted Police Department, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents and declaring an emergency. Special Assistant Mazzarolo indicated to us that there are requirements to meet these state requirements on radios. We currently have some Kenworth radios that are outdated and not able to be updated, so half of the radios that we will be purchasing will be done this year, and another 25 radios, the other half will be purchased next year. These are handheld radios and some car radios. And once again, Councilman Williamson made a motion to favorably recommend 2023-123, seconded by Councilman Madden. Was favorably voted on 3-0 by the committee. And next on the agenda was 2023-124, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city to accept grant funding in the amount of $256,588 from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Program, OJP, entitled Rural and Small Department Violent Crime Reduction Program, in order to expand the pool of police officers trained on the Advanced Crisis Intervention Team, CIT, and further authorizing the mayor to execute acceptance documentation with the Department of Justice as well as with the Beacon Center for Violence Prevention, Research and Education and Analytics, and declaring an emergency. $2023-124 is an award over 3 years. It's for advanced training for the crisis intervention team. It will include lieutenants and sergeants on the shifts, and the training is most likely going to be done at the Gun Center at the Case Western Reserve University. This will be managed by the Public Safety Department as far as the grant money. Councilwoman Williamson made a motion to favorably recommend this, seconded by Councilman Madden, and it was voted on 3-0 to favorably recommend it to council. Meeting concluded at 7:26 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Limper, Chairman of the Building, Zoning, and Development Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do not have a report this evening, Mr. President, but I would like a moment of personal privilege.
Of course.
First, I'd like to thank the administration for good communication to the community around that fire on Alden. And then additionally, I want to congratulate Councilmember Madden and Paul Shimsky for winning in the at-large election. Look forward to working with them. And also, I want to thank Councilwoman Williamson and Mr. Matt Mary for strong campaigns. And as everyone says, it is hard to sign up and run and put yourself out there. And our community only gets better the more people that are willing to do that. And I think everyone was pleased to get to know these candidates a little bit better through this process. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Thank you, Mr. President. The Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee met on Tuesday, October 24th, 2023, to discuss resolutions 2023-117, 2023-118, and 2023-119. The meeting was called to order at 7:26 p.m. Present were committee members Heeman, Scarl, and Limpert, all of council, the directors of Law, Human Resource, Economic Development, and Service. Also present was the special assistant to the mayor. First on the agenda was 2023-117, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform heating, ventilation, and air conditioning parentheses HVAC and paren services as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Director Carney addressed the committee and stated that that this resolution will address all of the public buildings except for the recreation center, and that the goal is to organize all of the HVAC services under one umbrella rather than with the multiple contracts as they are now. The benefits we are hoping to accomplish will be a master contract for routine maintenance and service calls with an eye toward better efficiency and contract manageability. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend 2023-117 to all of council, seconded by Mr. Limpert. That motion passed 3-0. Next on the agenda was 2023-118, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform pest control services as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. The Director Carney again discussed this 2023-118 and stated that this resolution would encompass all of the public buildings except for the wastewater treatment facility. The goal again is to seek a master contract rather than the multiples currently in place. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend 2023-118 to all of council, seconded by Mr. Scarl. That motion passed 3-0. Last on the agenda was 2023-119, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform elevator inspection, maintenance, and repair as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Director Carney again spoke to the issue of 2023-19 and stated that this would cover 4 of the city buildings, and those buildings would be City Hall, the Recreation Center, Springvale, and the Police Department for elevator service and repair. Again, the theme being one master, or umbrella contract rather than the individual contracts that are currently in place. Ms. Heeman made a motion to recommend 2023-119 to all of council, seconded by Mr. Limpert. That motion passed 3-0, and the meeting concluded at 7:40 p.m. That concludes my report, Mr. President, and if I may have a moment.
Of course.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate Councilman Madden, Councilman Limpert, and Councilman-elect Mr. Shimsky. I would also like to thank Ms. Williamson for her service. She has sat next to me for a long time. She will be missed. And I would like to also thank Mr. Murray for running a really good campaign, and thank you for participating in the council process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Mr. President, but may I have a moment as well?
Of course.
I'll just briefly echo the congratulations to Mr. Shimsky, Mr. Madden, and Mr. Limpert, as well as the gratitude and congratulations to Mr. Murray and Ms. Williamson for their efforts yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Scarl, Chairman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a report. The Environmental Control Committee met on October 24th, 2023 at 7:40 PM. Present were committee members Scarl, Gilchrist, and Madden. Council members, Council President Broussard, Glassburn, Heeman, Williamson, Law Director, HR Director, Economic Director, Service Director, Special Assistant to the Mayor, and guests. On the agenda was Resolution 2023-122. It's a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 2-year contract with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health in the total amount of $11,188. Each year payment will be $5,594. This was discussed with Director Upton, that this is a 2-year renewal contract. It happens every 2 years. It's pretty set forward with what it is. It's just the money may change year to year with each contract. The contract starts January 1st, 2024, and will run through December 31st, 2025. And the contract, like I said, is for 2 years. It's for stormwater systems to be monitored and to be in compliance with the EPA of Ohio. Mr. Scarl made a motion, seconded by Councilwoman Gilchrist, and the committee voted 3-0 to recommend Resolution 2023-122 to all of council. That passed 3-0, and the meeting concluded at 7:43. That concludes my report at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could have a moment too, please.
Of course.
Thank you. I'm the last to go, so it's the same thing everybody else has said. I want to congratulate Councilman Limpert, Councilman Madden, and Council-elect Paul Shimsky for their wins, and to Councilwoman Williamson for her service, and for Mr. Matt Murray for a fine campaign that he ran. And that concludes. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gilchrist is not present, but as chairwoman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, she did not have a report this evening. And then Councilman Madden, chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. The Streets and Transportation Committee met on Tuesday, October 24th, 2023 at 7:44 PM to discuss resolutions 2023-115, 116, and 120. In attendance were committee members Madden, Glassburn, and Gilchrist, Council President Broussard, Council members Heeman, Limpert, Scarl, and Williamson, Directors of Law, Economic Development, and Service, and the Special Assistant to the Mayor. First up was Resolution 2023-115, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase concrete materials and related supplies for the year 2024, as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Director Carney advised that each of the resolutions, 2023-115, 116, and 120, are all standard annual purchases made by the city for materials, and there are no unusual items included in these purchase requests. A motion was made by Councilman Madden to favorably recommend 2023-115 to council, seconded by Councilman Glassburn, and was favorably recommended to council by a vote of 3-0. Next was Resolution 2023-116, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide asphalt and related materials for repairs on city streets, as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval by the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Motion was made on this resolution by Councilman Madden to favorably recommend 2023-116 to council, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. And this was also favorably recommended to council by a vote of 3-0. Resolution 2023-120, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase stone materials and related supplies for the year 2024, as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Motion was made by Councilman Madden to favorably recommend 2023-120 to council, seconded by Councilman Glassburn, and was favorably recommended by a vote of 3-0. That concludes my report. It was concluded at 7:48 p.m.
All right, thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Mr. President.
Thank you. We will now move into audience participation. Thank you for attending tonight's council meeting. Public comment offers the opportunity for members of the public to share information and bring issues and concerns to the attention of city council members. It is not a debate, and public comment speakers should not expect a back and forth exchange. Council members may ask clarifying questions of the speaker, city staff, or fellow council members. Those attending city council meetings should show the same respect to others that they wish to have shown to them. So if there is anyone in the audience who wish to address council, please come to the podium, state and spell your name and address for the clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You will have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Matt Mari, M-A-T-T, last name M-A-R-R-I-E. I live at 23117 Clifford Drive. Just going to take a quick minute, and I would just like to take this opportunity to thank my friends, family, and supporters that gave me so much help and guidance during this election while I ran for council at large. I truly am grateful and thankful for everything that they did for me. I would like to congratulate Dwayne Limpert, Mark Madden, and Paul Shimsky, who I know can't be here tonight, on their victories. You guys ran a great campaign, and you deserve the win, so I give that to you. And then finally, on a personal note, I just want to say that I plan to stay fully engaged and involved and to do everything I can for the community going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Hold your head high.
Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Chris Kimichek. I'm 23727 Elm Road. I've been here a few times, so I think you all know that my family and I oppose adding a cell tower to the North Olmsted Park, just a few hundred feet away from homes and businesses. A handful of us have been coming to council meetings since August, and when we found out about this plan. We've been sharing information with you, but I'll just reiterate for anyone that may be new to these meetings. A cell tower in a park negates everything a park provides those who visit. Its presence decreases market values of surrounding properties. Emitted radiation causes negative health effects. In mid-October, the city had some community input meetings for the park improvement plan. At those two meetings, city staff got to hear loud and clear from about 150 residents, most of whom also oppose adding a cell tower in the park for all these same reasons that we've been talking about since August. Mayor, you were in the neighborhood this past week, yes? Unfortunately, you had to be there. But you saw firsthand all of the yard signs of the residents who opposed this cell tower. And quite frankly, in my opinion, the manner in which this resolution was moved through and approved is questionable. The 15-minute Park and Recs Committee meeting in June, where this resolution was brought in front of council, showed a lack of depth and detail, especially for something that's going to be around for 40 years. The focus was solely on the financial benefits. There was no mention of how this would benefit residents. And members couldn't answer whether residents would have improved reception or even what the dimensions of the tower would be. On 2 occasions in September, the city asked TowerCo how to address residents' concerns about possible health effects and what the height, dimension, what the images of the tower would be, and what the outbuildings would be. How is it that council unanimously approved this resolution without having basic facts about the tower in general and this one specifically? So my question, Mayor, to you is, what are you going to do? Maybe the city didn't think residents would care about this. Well, you see that we do. Maybe the city didn't know the cell towers cause negative effects, and that's why you reached out to TowerCo. It's no surprise that TowerCo responded saying that they are safe within FCC guidelines. But remember, FCC is not a health agency. Even Kip from TowerCo said he was unaware of any research showing negative health effects and would be happy to receive some. So I brought everyone 16 pages worth of peer-reviewed scientific research showing the issues with cell towers for all of you and for Kip. So now you know. And finally, in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 20 residents living within 500 feet of a cell tower, which is basically where our residents are going to be, became ill within 6 months of the tower being turned on. Verizon was ordered to cease and desist by the Massachusetts Board of Health, and the legal battle continues to protect these residents and their homes. So I ask my question again, Mayor. What are you going to do? You and council have heard our concerns. Are you going to work to find a safer location for us? Like maybe Spruce, so that you can protect the health of our residents. I have faith that you will, because none of us want to be in the same situation as Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Thank you. May I approach to give you the literature? I have one for everybody.
You can hand it to me.
For the clerk.
You can hand it to me.
Will you give one to Kip, or should I do that?
Who's Kip?
Kip is from TowerCo. He said he would like to see some of that.
I'll give it to
We'll make
Max to
sure.
give it to him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dave Herod, Herod. I live at 5283 Evergreen Drive, and I'm here also to speak about the tower. But there is one thing that, and it pertains to the prior comment here, that I copied off of the North Olmsted City Council website. And the statement reads, "City Council members individually and collectively represent the citizens of North Olmsted, serving as a liaison between citizens and the city government administration. Residents who have questions or concerns can seek help and information from their specific ward council, many members, and any member at large." I found out about this. I think I've been to 2 meetings that were over at the park. And the way it seemed like this went down is that it was done without our approval. You guys unanimously voted for this, and we didn't have any representation even before you did this. So I guess, I know you guys know that, but I kind of, it's for everybody here, that you were supposed to represent us on this issue. And I also believe that this is going to have a negative impact on just visually. Property values, the research that I've done says up to 20% on the property values, and health issues. The 4G runs at a lot less power and speed than the 5G does. It runs at 6 megahertz, and then it runs at, I think, 30 megahertz for 5G. And those meetings that we had, they were for improvements to the park. And I don't see a tower in the park as an improvement. And I'd like to thank the mayor for my conversation that we had. She came Saturday and to talk to us neighbors that were out there about what went on over in Alden. And she was very polite and listened to what I had to say and was concerned. And one of the things she asked was for a report that my neighbors had found, and about an alternate location, which is only a half a mile from the park. And the Tower Code person said that he could point that anywhere, any direction, and they could point in the direction of the park and get coverage. He said that. But everything that we brought up at the meeting, which was pretty much run by Kip, or whatever his name is, was shot down. Nobody was listening to us, nobody was, I handed a report to him and looked at it for a second and said, this is no good. But his reports and his information was good, but the stuff we had was no good. And, as far as improvements, there isn't anybody in here that wouldn't want an improvement to the park. But having a tower in your park, in your front yard, the mayor suggested I look at the property on Clegg Road, because there's a tower there. We drove by there and we could barely see it. We drove down the drive, and it's in everybody's backyard, and there's a big buffer of woods between the park and the home. And then I also looked at the one at the rec center, which is in the backyards of the people on Ranch View, but it's above the tree line, and you can see it behind Olive Garden, but it's not as imposing as it would be put in the park over there. In the middle of the park, it's in everybody's front yard. All the homes on East Park, all the homes on North Park, all the homes on West Park, it's in their front yard. We're talking hundreds of feet from their houses. And, the concern of just the visual, but, the impact that it would have on,
Mr. Harrod,
yeah.
right here. I would ask that, are you close to, your 5 minutes has elapsed. and
Oh, it has?
A council member can always make a motion to allow you more time, and then we'd vote on it. But out of courtesy to the rest of the potential speakers, we keep it at 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry, okay.
No
Yeah,
worries.
one more comment, and that would be, it would be my recommendation to put it at the alternate location. It would be in the backyards. It's in an area where there's not that many homes. It wouldn't affect the people like it would at the park that is proposed for it to go into. So that concludes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Janice Denham, Denham, and I live at 5129 East Park Drive. My husband and I have lived on East Park Drive since 1986 and consider the park North Olmsted's village green, the center of our community where residents can relax and enjoy nature. We especially love living across from the playground and watching the children having a fun time, and we were pleased with the addition of a storybook walk earlier this year. Many parents, grandparents, and children are reading and enjoying the stories as they walk along. So we were in disbelief and more than a little disturbed when we heard of your intent to place a cell tower in the People's Park. Regardless of your policy, I find it unconscionable that you would not have contacted residents when the idea was first discussed. You are our elected officials. While in office, the park is under your care, not your ownership. And it is unthinkable that you would betray the trust of your constituents and allow a commercial enterprise to dictate their desire to place a cell tower in our park. Any beautification you think you will accomplish in the park will be negated by the overshadowing view of a 145-foot cell tower from any location in the park. $400,000 is not worth the trade-off. I believe you need to focus on the park's needs and not your wants. FCC regulations were designed in 1996 when 2G cell speeds were the limit. Since that time, speeds have risen to 5G with no relevant research on the safety of these increased speeds. If 5G cell towers cause major issues for airline traffic, how can anyone assume that there are no effects to individuals' health or the environment? In fact, quote, on August 13, 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit ruled that the Federal Communication Commission ignored scientific evidence and failed to prove a reasoned explanation for its determination that its 1996 regulations adequately protect the public against all the harmful effects of wireless radiation. The bottom line, FCC compliance does not ensure safety. There is a lack of oversight by health and environmental agencies. Children's vulnerability has been ignored by the FCC. The court states the FCC dismissed the American Academy of Pediatrics' recommendations for strengthened regulations that ensure children and pregnant women are protected, and wildlife remains unprotected. The court found that the FCC completely failed to address the substantive evidence of potential environmental harms on the record, which included science showing serious impacts to birds, bees, trees, and plants. Yes, a park is the perfect place to plant a cell tower, inflicting harm on people, birds, bees, and trees. I can only assume you simply took the word of Tower Coast salesmen rather than do your own research on the negative effects a cell tower can have on residents' health, especially that of children and the environment. It sadly appears that you just don't care. While negative health and environmental issues are my uppermost concerns, I have also learned that there is significant damage to the value of properties near cell towers. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, they have long considered cell towers as hazards and nuisances. An August 15, 2018 article in the Wall Street Journal titled, "The Electrifying Factor Affecting Your Property's Value" stated that, quote, over 90% of home buyers and renters are less interested in properties near cell towers and would pay less for a property in close vicinity to cellular antennas. Documentation of a price drop up to 20% is found in multiple surveys and published articles. It certainly seems that you are unconcerned about your residents, especially those living near the park, as well as park visitors and the park itself. The negative effects of a cell tower in our park will far outweigh any improvements you intend to make. Who wants to visit a park when gazing up at the trees, they find themselves staring at a cell tower? You want to beautify the park with funds received for placing a cell tower in its midst. What an oxymoron. Thank you.
Hi, Sandy Johnston, 5086 West Park Drive, Johnston, Johnston. This is my first time ever being here, first time ever to a council meeting at all. And that just goes to prove how important the cell phone tower stuff is to me. The volleyball courts I can see out the picture window of my house. Do you think I want to be looking at a cell phone tower? I've lived in my house for 20 years. When we purchased our house, we purposely did not look near any high power lines, near any cell phone towers, and I certainly do not want one in my front yard. Based on little drawings that I've done of myself online, 20-plus houses are within 600 feet of the volleyball courts, which is clearly visible. That doesn't even talk about the houses on North Park, which are just a little past 600 feet. That's just East Park and West Park. 20-plus houses. So you, the city, will get $400,000 to do with what you want, which it does sound like a good plan, as long as it's not at my expense. So you're gonna lower my property value and all those other 20 houses so that you guys can have $400,000. Just take the money right out of my pocket. That doesn't seem very fair. Not to mention all the health effects that are not proven, but I work from home. I don't want to be subjected to being able to stare at a cell phone tower and be subjected to any radiation it's emitting because you guys want $400,000. In addition, I read somewhere in our subdivision, sorry, I'm like really nervous. I'm not a public speaker. In our subdivision regulations, section 151.04, permitted use for a wireless telephone communication tower shall be permitted in any interstate highway right-of-way. No, the park's not that. A wireless telecommunication tower shall be permitted on or within an easement or parcel used for electric high-tension power lines or support towers. Nope, the park's not that. And a conditional use, a telephone communication tower plan may be permitted as a conditional use upon approval by planning, blah, 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 in an area indicated as in a WTFO district with a wired communication facility, something. I'd have to go look up your acronym. But that's for limited use in an industrial park and mixed district. Again, this is a residentially zoned area, or on property owned or controlled by a political subdivision other than property owned or controlled by the city, indicated as a WTFO zone. Again, the park is not that. So how in our subdivision rules is this even allowed? Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Rick Fadenholtz. I live at 4989 East Park Drive. I'll spell my last name, F as in Frank, A-D-E-N-H-O-L-Z. Like this lady here, I look directly into the volleyball courts. So that's the view I get. I didn't do any research on it. I'm just hearing what I hear from neighbors because I work quite a bit. And I'm not happy. So I just want to thank, I just can't believe there's no other way to raise the revenue for the park systems. I mean, I watch lots of events go on at the park every summer, fall, and even spring. And you can't put a concession stand? I've often asked that. Why don't you have some kind of concessions over there to sell to all the baseball teams and all the soccer teams and all the events that go on? That would raise a ton of money. I mean, and you can do it right out of the community cabin, I'm sure. I mean, if you could arrange it with them, you know. So, I mean, that's just a simple way to raise some revenue. And you could probably get people to man it at a reasonable cost, or even get volunteers if you split the revenue amongst the teams that are playing there. You know, if you give them some, and maybe the parents would man it. Because I know Berea does it, and Mid-Park does it, because I work with some of the guys that man the concession stands to make money for the park system and the ball teams. So I'm not in agreement with it, and I'll follow course. If it gets put up, I'll take legal steps. That's my next course. So, thank you.
My name is Cynthia Chrismanth, K-R-I-S-M-A-N-T-H, 5104 West Park Drive. I came to talk about how the feelings of the North Olmsted community was never felt any choice was theirs. We have had meetings, but not until after this last issue was voted on by our leaders, whom we voted for. Accepted this with no notification to the city residents until after it went through. The tower and one of its possible chosen area is right across from the main picnic pavilion, where I've had family reunions which I will not have anymore after taking turns and seeing other cities' beautiful parks with no cell towers. If this tower is put in that location, I've been there 36 years, every morning when I open my curtains, that eyesore will be staring at me. None of the people who voted for this live in the park to view this and won't have that problem. I have contacted a realtor professional to ask how the cell tower can bring the value down on your property. I know when we were looking for our retirement home across from the park, it seemed a perfect, peaceful location. And a realtor explained, yes, it can devalue your property value if you decide to sell. This agreement was never put out for a vote for the city, but if you just drive by around the city, you will know how we really feel with all the no cell tower signs on the lawn. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Connie English. I live at 5009 East Park Drive. First, I would like to thank and commend our first responders for their heroic response to the situation on Alden Drive. I have the utmost respect for everyone, including dispatch, who was involved to ensure the safety of the community. I am recently retired from St. John Medical Center after 21 years and worked 10 of those years in the emergency room, and I know firsthand how hard everybody works together. My initial feeling that this tower is just about money came when my neighbor and I met with Mr. Pinchak and Mr. Upton August 31st of this year at City Hall. We were talking about the plans, looking at drawings, etc., and in the conversation I said, I don't think you got a good deal. Mr. Upton looked up at me from his phone, which he was looking at the whole time, pretty much. And I said, I don't think you got a good deal. And I just made that up. And I said, if you could get more money, if I could get you more money, would you move the tower? And he said they would name the park after me. And that's the moment that I got that feeling in my stomach that I knew this wasn't a good situation. I'm here to say, still oppose the cell tower at North Olmsted Park. I feel it wasn't legislated responsibly. I picked up public records that I requested October 3rd on October 31st, 4 weeks later. I was pretty excited at first because it looked like a lot of material. However, the excitement quickly passed as it was mostly duplicates and meeting date confirmations. After pulling the duplicates out and placing them in order by dates, most important document was number 1. It was dated September 15th, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. from Brian Glarden, a real estate manager from Tower Co., to Mr. Upton. It's 7 lines with Brian basically introducing himself to Mr. Upton and saying he has an opportunity for the city and says, I quote, if you are interested, please contact me at my mobile number below or feel free to respond to this email, end quote. Mr. Upton replies less than 24 hours later saying, quote, we would love to meet with your team. This seems to be nothing more than Tower Co. reaching out to see if the city would bite, and yes, they did. This does not seem like a situation where the city has no options, as Brian at Tower Co. said, if you are interested. In 13 months of documents I obtained, T-Mobile was only mentioned 2 times. The first in the first 2 days, and the second was not until February of 2023, 5 months later. Brian from Tower Co. says, and I quote, excellent news, Max. I heard this morning from T-Mobile. That was in February. This does not lend itself to, oh my gosh, the service is so bad over by the park. We need to declare emergency legislation. We need service restored ASAP. Nothing. Just talk about lease buyout prices, co-locator prices, and capital installments. What I didn't get in the records were any reports from the search ring, nothing documenting the absolute necessity of the need of a tower, no site acquisition reports, no consultant name who was retained to assist to make sure the city's getting a good deal. So I'm going to be resubmitting another request. Maybe I have to be more specific, but I will get help on that. I went to Spruce today and I took some photos and I left them on the table when I came up here. So I was going to give them to you guys. I can drop them off up at City Hall. But that is a very large area, and it's also very loud. I'm really glad I went there in person, and I recommend everybody to, with the highway right there. It would not be a destination I would consider as an escape from the hustle and bustle. The highway noise is just really loud. That being said, it would be a perfect location for a cell tower. Tuck it away in the corner, just like at Little Clegg. It would be in a backyard, but you could maybe put it far enough close to the highway that it would be much farther than Little Clegg. Let's find a better solution. It's much easier and cheaper to change the address on a contract now than it would be to stop the construction once in progress. And lastly, I was watching a Christmas Vacation movie the other night. They already started the holiday movies. And at the end of the movie, when the boss comes to Chevy Chase's house, he feels bad about not giving the bonus. And he says, some things look good on paper, but lose their luster when you see it on the faces of people. Just take a look around this room. Look at everybody that has come here. Like, they're not happy. And we would just love to be able to come together to find a better solution for everybody.
Don't panic. These aren't my notes for my talk. This is just the stuff I brought. My name is Mike Babinick. I live at 27981 North Park Drive, North Olmsted. I too want to talk about the cell tower. It's no secret. A lot of us don't want the cell tower here. Recently, we had the two meetings at the community cabin. I couldn't make the first one, but I got reports that it was quite spirited, to say the least. And I just call him Mr. Towerco because I don't remember his name. It took a lot of courage to stand up there and face this crowd, so that was good on his part. I was able to go to the second meeting, and I have to congratulate Mr. Pinchek because he kept that spirited crowd in check, and he sort of kept everybody focused. Now, here's what we're here to do. Let's hear from what you have to say. Let's get the notes on the board. So he ran that, I thought, very well, and I thought a lot got accomplished. I hope you guys heard the message. Everybody's going to take their own message out of this thing. Mine was, we don't want the cell tower in the park. We're not against a cell tower, just not where you're putting it. Two things is all I really want to ask about. One was a question at the very first meeting that we talked about the cell tower. Somebody on this side of the room, I don't remember whom, one of you guys, said, hey, I heard that cell towers have a poor signal at the base of the cell tower. And we're going to have a lot of people coming to the park and all these events, and they're going to want their cell phones to work. Is that true? And nobody in the room really could answer the question. So I asked Mr. Towerco, what's the deal? Is this really true or not? And well, don't take my word for it. Talk to Towerco, because he said, well, yeah, it happens. But when it happens, don't worry, because we can bring the cranes back out and re-aim the antennas so that it'll eliminate that problem. That sounds kind of scary to me, but all I want to say is check that information out, because it just didn't sound real good. The second thing I want to talk about is on the codified ordinances on 1151, wireless telecommunication facilities regulations, wireless telecommunications and all. One of the very first things in there under purpose is to protect property values. Now, I know that somebody somewhere is working on a report to talk about the property values. I had a spirited discussion with Mr. Towerco on the property values, and he assured me that the property values go up. And I says, well, for every article, he says, I got it right here in this article. I said, well, for every one you show me that it goes up, I can get you 5 that shows that that's not the case. How old is your article? And it seemed like a lot of the articles that he had were pretty outdated, both on the health side and on the value side. So that's another thing for you to talk about with Mr. Towerco, where this information is it current or not? If I submitted to a professional journal on an article, if any of my references were older than 10 years, they're tossed out. So I'm hoping that the information is current. But on the property values, I'm hoping that somebody does a report to find out, are we protecting values, yes or no? Let's do some due diligence. I'm hoping that we look at the market value or the sales value of the house, not the asset value or the tax appraisal. How much money are we looking for this thing to really go down? I think it does, and I think you'll find that it is the case. And then that's an example of how we can sort of live up to the ordinances that council has already passed. So I'd like to take a look at that. And then if you could compare that value to an area in North Olmsted that doesn't have a cell tower, and is there a difference? Is that market value different in one versus the other as you do that report? But I think somebody needs to do that due diligence and check this out. There's a lot of work to get done before this gets through. Good luck. We're on your side. We know we can do it, but we sure like to find a different path.
Good evening. Terry Zarnecki, 5109 East Park Drive. Yes, I am with the rest of my residents here, opposing the cell tower for many, many reasons. But tonight I have a couple questions. Number one, the vote. So you guys voted on this information that was all wrong at the time. It was not the correct size. You didn't ask enough questions. Is that a legal vote? I think most of us think that that is not a legal vote and you should have a revote. Thank you.
I would like to hear a response at some point from.
Yeah, if it's fraudulent information, how is that a legal vote? Somebody paid attention to what was written. First, the cell tower started at 60 feet, then it was 140, but then they just looked at each other and said, yes, 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 and then it came out to be 145. That is false information, that is fraud, that cannot be a legal vote. Next, we talked several times about forest or spruce. Forest, talking about property values. I'm sure you can't do it at forest because the developer won't want to put houses there with a cell tower there. But they'll put it 400 feet from our door. You have to understand our concern. Mr. Scarl, you are supposed to protect us. We are in your ward. Please do what is best for us. This is not what's best for us. When you affect our property values, you're affecting my nursing home, for goodness sake. And it will affect our property values. Spruce School, I mean, there's maps. It's 12 acres. If you put it in the middle by the highway, it doesn't affect your property. It doesn't affect anybody's property. It's not close enough. We are talking 400 feet from the nearest door on East Park and West Park, because it's only 800 feet across.
300 for me.
That's even worse. I mean, what is the limit? It's 1,350 feet from the nearest resident or building is what it's supposed to be. So spruce, I mean, you can tuck that away. You're putting a utility there for water retention. Put it all there. We know it can reach that far. We know we want to improve our city. We want funds for our city, and we know that, and we're not against that. We're against the location. Madam Mayor, you are the only one who can overturn this. You are the only one who can help us. You're the only one who can save us, or you guys can have a revote. And I know some of you don't want to. And that's fine, but I mean, we've asked, we've pleaded, we're begging, we're practically up here crying. Jim and Jan bought the house next to me. I've been there since the day I was born. They bought it from my grandmother. That's how long we've been here. And that's what the park means to us. So please, have it in your hearts. You know, be human. I wouldn't steal from you. I wouldn't take your property away. I wouldn't do anything to harm you and your family. Please think about us. Greed, ego is a really bad character to have. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Elaine McDonald, McDonald, and I live at 5284 West Park Drive. And I just want to say that I'm against the cell tower, just like everybody else. But I also, I want to represent the people who live at the other end of the park. I live right across from the first baseball diamond. Okay, so when I open my door, I'm going to see the cell tower if you decide to put it over there by Lorraine Road, okay? I'm about 600 feet from the location which you guys showed on the map, okay? And so one of the things, my husband went and looked on the internet, and he's the one who found a property that is owned by the city of North Olmsted, right off of Stearns Road, and it's about 0.9 of an acre, so it's almost an acre in size. It's about a half mile from the park when you do a measure thing, like on your cell phone. So it wouldn't be, you know, if the cell tower guy, when we presented this at the second meeting, he kind of shut it down right away because he said it wouldn't work. But it's only a half mile from the original location where you want to put it. So I just wanted you guys to consider, you know, maybe addressing this with him, possibly, as an alternate location, okay? And I would like to submit this to somebody. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other comments from the audience, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading, Resolution 2023-103, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Advanced Asphalt Paving, Inc. to provide services to the parking area at Fire Station 2 at a cost of $19,900.
Madam President, or Mr. President, sorry, Ms. Williamson has been here the last few meetings.
I don't take it personal.
I'd make a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-103 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-103 made by Councilman Limpert and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Mr. Madden.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-103 is adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance 2023-108, introduced by Mayor Jones, an ordinance to authorize the execution of additional then and now certificates by the finance director and the payment of amounts due for various purchase orders and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I move to adopt 2023-108 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2023-108 made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn.
Yes.
Mr. Limpert.
Yes.
Mr. Scarl.
Yes.
Mr. Madden.
Yes.
Ms. Heeman.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-108 is adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Legislation on second reading, Resolution 2023-112, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Economic and Community Development to make application on behalf of the City of North Olmsted to the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, to participate in the Safe Routes to School grant program, and further authorizing the mayor to accept the grant if awarded and execute agreements therefore and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2023-115, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase concrete materials and related supplies for the year 2024 as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-116, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to provide asphalt and related materials for repairs upon city streets as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-117, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform heating
ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC services as detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-118, introduced by Mayor Jones. Resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform pest control services is detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-119, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to perform elevator inspection, maintenance, and repair is detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-120, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to purchase stone materials and related supplies for the year 2024 as detailed in the specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor following approval of the Board of Control to contract for same with the lowest and best bidder. Resolution 2023-122, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 2-year contract with Cuyahoga County Board of Health in the total amount of $11,188, each year payment of $5,594. Resolution 2023-123, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor to contract for the purchase of 25 portable radios from Motorola Solutions at a cost of $116,649 as priced through the state purchase program and required by the state of Ohio's Marks Radio Network for deployment by North Olmsted Police Department, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all contract documents and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2023-124, introduced by Mayor Jones, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city to accept grant funding in the amount of $256,588 from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs, OJP, entitled Rural and Small Department Violent Crime Reduction Program in order to expand the pool of police officers trained on the Advanced Crisis Intervention Team, CIT, and further authorizing the mayor to execute acceptance documentation with the Department of Justice as well as the Begun Center for Violence Prevention, Research and Education and Analytics, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I'd like to request suspension of the rules requiring 3 readings on 2023-124. It was discussed in caucus tonight by the mayor, and in an effort to move forward with accepting the grant. And I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for Resolution 2023-124 is made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mann?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
That motion passes by a vote of 5-0, and if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-124, please approach the podium now.
Mr. President, seeing none, I move that we vote to accept or approve the Resolution 2023-124 and ask for a second.
Second.
A motion to adopt Resolution 2023-124 made by Councilman Madden, seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-124 is adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Legislation on first reading, ordinance 2023-126, an ordinance to make appropriations for the Clay Road resurfacing, widening, and force main projects for the year ending December 31st, 2023.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-127, an ordinance authorizing the city of North Olmsted pursuant to section 941.01D of the Streets, Utilities, and Public Services Code to partially contribute to the costs incurred for refuse collection by owners of certain residential structures not otherwise authorized to receive refuse collection services from the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2023-128, a resolution authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the award of a contract to to provide construction services for the Recreation Center data project is detailed in specifications on file, and authorizing the mayor, following approval of the Board of Control, to contract for the same with the lowest and best bidder.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-129, an ordinance accepting a .0006 acre permanent right-of-way easement acquired for a public purpose, to wit, the establishment, construction, reconstruction, widening, repair, or maintenance of Clay Road from Richard T. Barber II on property known as permanent parcel number 231-24-014, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2023-130, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with PDQ.com Corporation to provide computer software described as Smart Deploy at a cost of $6,372, and to further authorize 2 one-year renewal options, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rule requiring three readings and formal committee review for this legislation. Mayor provided the information in caucus as to the necessity. I ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings and formal committee review for Resolution 2023-130 is made by Councilman Glassburn, seconded by Councilman Lippert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
That motion passes by a vote of 5-0. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to address council regarding Resolution 2023-130, please approach the podium now.
Seeing none, Mr. President, I move to adopt 2023-130 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-130 is made by Councilman Glassburn and seconded by Councilman Lippert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Resolution 2023-130 is adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance 2023-131, an ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2023-132, amending ordinance number 2012-72 to add to the property subject to the exemption granted therein, to extend the exemption from taxation for certain parcels in the city, and declaring an emergency.
Mr. President, I introduce and place on first reading.
All right. Moving into scheduling committees for next week. I'll start out by indicating that we're going to schedule a committee of the whole. Oh, you're right, sorry. Special council meeting, not a committee of the whole. For Tuesday, November 14th, 2023. And I believe we said that was going to begin at 7:10 p.m. And then moving into scheduling committee meetings for that same day. Councilman Madden, would you like to schedule public safety, health, and welfare?
Yes, Mr. President. I'd like to schedule a meeting for liquor permit number 8163714, SIG, it's SIGMM LLC at 25070 Country Club Boulevard. I'd like to schedule it at 6:30 till 6:35.
All right, thank you. Councilman Lippert, for building, zoning, and development.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to schedule a meeting on November 14th at 6:35 p.m. to discuss ordinance 2023-95. That will run estimated to 6:45, and would ask that the Economic Development Director and the other mayor's designees be present.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, for recreation, public parks, and buildings.
Thank you, Mr. President. 6:45, please. For 2023-128, I would like to have Director Pinchek, the mayor, and our IT manager, Eric Lundberg. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Councilman Scarl for Environmental Control.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to schedule environmental control for 2023-127, 6:50 to 6:55, and ask the mayor and her designee for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Councilman Glassburn for Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to schedule finance for 6:55 PM, hopefully completing by the time of our special council meeting for 126, 129, 131, and 132. Request the finance director, her designee, and the mayor's designee.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to excuse the absence of Councilwoman Williamson?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to excuse Councilwoman Williamson made by Councilwoman Heeman and seconded by Councilman Glassburn. Roll call, please.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassberg?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson is excused by a vote of 5-0. And is there another motion on the floor to excuse Councilwoman Gilchrist?
So moved.
Second.
All right, who had it? And then who had the second? All right, great. Motion to excuse Councilwoman Gilchrist made by Councilwoman Heeman, seconded by Councilman Scarl. Roll call, please.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassberg?
Yes.
What did I miss?
You missed nothing.
Mr. Madden?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Scarl?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gilchrist is excused by a vote of 5-0. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council, this meeting of November 8th, 2023 is adjourned at 9:21 p.m.
I mean, that's what but they haven't been, but I'm wondering if